Hello and welcome. My name is Mark. This is Riffle, Shuffle, and Roll. And today I'm going to be showing you a little two-player card game called Tacocat Spelled Backwards. If it's your first time visiting the channel, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell so you're notified about new games every week. Tacocat is a tug-of-war trick-taking card game in which the last trick determines who wins the round. There is a lot going on with this little game, so let's just dive in and learn how to play. Out of the box, you will get a rule book, a 38 card deck, 7 palindrome tiles, and a Tacocat. That comes with a stand. And one of the coolest features of this game is that the box itself opens up to become the board. The deck has cards ranging from 1 low up to 12 high. There's only one suit, and there are multiple copies of some of the cards, while others only have a single copy in the deck. The tiles are pretty amusing too. They've each got a palindrome on them with an illustration. To set up for the game, first you're going to place the Tacocat token in the center space, right on the 7. Now, the number in these spaces tells you how many cards are going to be dealt to each player. So for the first round, each player will receive 7 cards. Place the rest of the deck off to the side. It'll come into play here in a moment for the exchange, and place all of the palindrome tiles off to the other side of the board. Each round begins with the possibility of a card exchange. So the arrows on the spaces tell you which players can choose to exchange cards. For the first round, both players have the option. So for example, if this player looked at their hand and decided they wanted to get rid of these 4 cards, they would discard them and then draw 4 more. These cards are then added to their hand. For the first round, the opposite player also has the option to exchange cards if they want. They're happy with their hand, so they're just going to keep their cards. Before play can begin, it must be determined who gets to lead the first trick, and that is done with a duel. Now, a duel is a simultaneous reveal of 1 card from each player's hand. The highest card wins the duel. Both players reveal their cards, and we see that the player on the right side of the screen wins the duel. They played a 12, which beats the 11. If there's a tie, the cards are discarded, and then the duel happens again. And it is possible, but unlikely, that every single card could be played dueling, trying to figure out who could lead. And that's all right, that's just part of the game. So this round will begin with the player on the right. The objective of the round is to be the player with the lowest ranking card. That player will win the round. So you can see here that the player on the left side of the screen has a 5, which is okay. That's right smack dab in the middle. And it's not terrible, but it's definitely not great. Over here, though, our player on the right has a 1. And they really want to keep that card safe if they can. So here's how trick play works. Whoever won the duel leads the first card. So they're going to go ahead and play their 12. The opposite player has to they have a couple options. They can match the card or play a card that's higher. So here they can only really play a 12. Or they can play their lowest card, just like Cucumber or Gudetama. And the player does not have a 12, so they have to play their lowest card. That's called a sacrifice. So they throw their 5 out there, they lose the trick. The cards in the trick are simply thrown off to the side, and then whoever wins the trick leads the next one. So now this player is going to play their 10. And again, the player can either play a 10, an 11, or a 12, or they play their lowest card. Now, a player does not have to win the trick if they don't want to. Even if this player can play a 10 or 11, they don't necessarily have to. Generally, it's a good idea to win the trick, but the option is there to go ahead and just sacrifice your lowest card. Well, here the player can win the trick, so they're going to play a 10. When two cards of the same rank are played to the trick, the lowest card wins. So our player on the left won the trick, they get to lead the next one. Now here they're going to play their 9. They're going to try to suck out some higher cards here. The opposite player will play their 9 to win the trick. It's discarded, and now they lead. They're going to go ahead and play their 10, 11, 8, 8, and then we get ourselves here to the final trick. So both cards are played, and whoever has the lowest card wins the round. So the 1 wins. Once the round ends, Tacocat is moved in the direction of the player who won the round. So we're going to move Tacocat 1 space towards the wow goal, and you place a tile on the space that Tacocat was previously in. Now what that does is shrink the board. So if the yay player here on the left, were to win the next round, Tacocat actually hops over that space and gets a smidgen closer to that player's goal. And then we would cover up the 6. And then if the wow player wins, they hop 2, and you would cover up that 6. So you can see the board shrinks after each round. And after the end of the round, all the cards are collected, shuffled, and dealt. So you can see in this round, each player would start with 6 cards. And it is our player on the left side of the screen that gets the first option to exchange cards if they want to. Now here's how it works. Since the arrow is pointing left, the player on the left gets to exchange cards if they choose. Now, if they do, and let's just say they get rid of these 2 cards. Now let's say 3. They get rid of 3 cards and they draw 3. So 1, 2, 3. That did not really help them. Since they chose to exchange 3 cards, the opposite player also gets the choice. They like their hand, so they're going to keep it. Now, if the player chooses not to exchange any cards, so the arrow is pointing left and the player on the left side of the screen says, no, I'm happy with my hand, then the other player does not even get the option. All right, so the next round also begins with a duel. Each player shows 1 card, and they do that simultaneously, and whoever plays the highest card wins the duel. If there's a tie, the cards are discarded and you duel again. So here, the player on the left side of the screen, player yay, played a 12. They win the duel. They beat the 9. So these cards are discarded, and the yay player will lead the first trick. So here's a good time to show you what jumbo attacks are. There are special attacks that you can make where you play multiple cards at once instead of just 1 card at a time. So let's jump to a couple examples of what those are real quick, and then we'll come back and continue the hand. There are 2 ways to make a jumbo attack in this game. And a jumbo attack is when you're able to play more than 1 card to the trick. So one way to do this is to have 2 or more cards of the same rank. If you do, you can play them all at once. The other way is to have a sequence of 3 or more cards. And again, if you do, you can play them all at once. So when a jumbo attack occurs, the opposite player is going to have to respond to each card 1 at a time. Let's go back to the game and see how that works. All right, so player yay is going to lead off the trick with a jumbo attack. They actually have a run of 8, 9, 10, and 11, and they have decided to play all 4 cards. Now, they could have played the 7 as part of their run, but this is not allowed. Players cannot include their final card in a jumbo attack. They must always have 1 card remaining in their hand. So player wow has to respond to this jumbo attack by playing 1 card at a time, and they must address each card individually. So they start with the highest card. It's an 11. They again, must either beat it or sacrifice a card. You really do not want to sacrifice a card in response to a jumbo attack, and we'll see why here in a second. So they are able to beat the 12. The next one is a 10. They cannot beat it with their 9. They must play their lowest card. So now player Yay has successfully fished out their lowest card. Now their lowest card isn't that great. It's a 7. So chances are slim they're going to win, but this jumbo attack might help them pull it out. So the 2 loses to the 10, and they still have to respond to the rest of the cards. So we're going to go ahead and do that. They can beat the 9 with their 9, because remember, when a card of the same rank is played second to the trick, it wins the trick. And they cannot beat the 8 with their 6, so they must get rid of their 5. All right, when a jumbo attack occurs, if a player has to sacrifice to even just one of the cards, they lose the trick. So as soon as this player had to sacrifice their 2, the trick was lost. They had to do it twice. So they definitely lost this trick. But let's see if it was enough for player Yay to win the round. Both players reveal their final card, and player Yay put up a good fight, but it just wasn't good enough. The 6 is lower, so player Wow wins the round again. Discard the cards from the trick, move Tacocat towards the winner, and cover up the previous space with a tile. Continue playing rounds until one player has gotten the Tacocat into their goal. That player is the winner. That is Tacocat Spelled Backwards. Man, did they jam-pack a ton of stuff into this game. Obviously, if you can't tell by my enthusiasm, I am a huge fan of this game. It is found in all sorts of big box stores across the US. You can buy it online. It is widely available, and I really think it's going to go under the radar for people who are in the hobby side of things, because it has nothing attached to it, branding and marketing wise. There's no keywords that are going to kind of alert hobbyists, especially people who like trick-taking games. And that's what this is. Now, if you've ever played Cucumber or Gudetama, or have just seen my videos for that style of game, you'll know what a last trick game is. The auction for determining who gets to lead first is really cool, because you have to decide how much you're willing to spend to win that lead. The jumbo attacks add a really nice layer of strategy. If you are in a position where your lowest card is not very low, then you might want to grab the lead right away and start the round off with a jumbo attack, because you might be able to fish out your opponent's lower cards. It could blow up in your face too. That's what makes this game so interesting. Now, the tug of war aspect, holy smokes, the shrinking board is so smart. This is a far simpler game than something like Jekyll vs. Hyde, which is also a tug of war game, Trick Taker, and it's simpler than Royal Visit, which I've covered on the channel. Royal Visit is a tug of war game, but there's 5 pieces you're trying to move. Only one of them will win you the game, and it's not a trick taker. You're trying to move the pieces just based on the cards you're playing. So it's a little different, but that tug of war feature is there. I think this game does a really good job of packing all of these mechanisms and features together into a mass market product. Now, the theme is completely irrelevant, but in this case, that's all right, because it is all flavor. This is the same company who did Exploding Kittens, and the designer of that game and this game is obsessed with palindromes for whatever reason. And that is really what the flavor of this game is. Every card and tile has some sort of palindrome and an illustration. And while I'm not in love with that particular theme or the flavor of the theme, my wife really thinks it's funny, and it added a lot to the experience for her. So this sits on the shelf near the party games section, which again, I think is going to make it go under the radar, along with Exploding Kittens. These are really good card games that for some reason are being kind of branded and shelved as party games. and they're not using any of the kind of keywords that are going to trigger interest in the hobby side of things. So this is a nice sort of entry-level trick-taking game sitting on the shelf at your local Walmart or Meijer or on Amazon, just waiting to be picked up by people who are looking for that sort of experience. Now, if you're wanting to get lighter gamers into something like Jekyll versus Hyde, this is a good start because all of the base mechanisms and features are there. You've got the tug of war aspect, you've got the trick play, and then eventually you'll have to get them to the point where they understand trump or suit ranking, and of course special powers will add another layer of complexity to that. But this game is a good start, and it's only $15. It is wonderfully put together. The box is such a high quality, and it opens up to be the board. It's a thick cardboard. You can tell it's just going to last a really long time. The cards are just a plastic card, a plastic coated card. So they're not anything fancy, but they're sort of liquid resistant. So for spills and things like that, the cards aren't going to get ruined right away. The tiles that are used to shrink the board down are a really thick stock. And of course, the Tacocat is pretty dang cool. I wish this was a token, kind of like the statue in Jekyll versus Hyde, but that's okay. I think this fits the overall flavor of the game. And with it being sort of a mass market title, that's just fine. So a lot of really good stuff here, and I'm pretty excited about this game. I know it's going to get a lot of table time here in my house with the wife. Yeah, overall, I'm going to rate this game right now very fun, and it is a contender for a AAA title, the Anytime Anywhere award. So I will need to play it more and process my thoughts on the game a little more before I can give it that particular ranking, but it is definitely very fun, and I recommend buying it. Well, that is it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on playing.